This is the In Focus podcast from The Hindu.
Welcome to the Hindus in Focus podcast. I'm Zubeda Hamid, your host for today. What does excessive screen time do to your brain? This has been a question that has triggered a lot of research, a lot of debate, and a lot of questions. A recent meta analysis of 34 studies looked at excessive screen use and its links to your cognitive functioning. The results of the analysis, conducted by researchers in Australia, says that there is a clear link between disordered screen behavior, which is persisting with screen use even when it's harmful for you, and your cognitive performance, specifically your attention and executive functioning. They found that sustained attention, the ability to maintain your focus for an extended period, was affected. And this is something maybe many of us may have felt as devices have increasingly taken over our lives, whether it's for work, learning, or recreation. In India, smartphone use and internet subscribers grew during the COVID 19 pandemic, particularly as schools went online with digital learning. So, what does all of this device time do to our brains, our functioning, our interaction with others, and our productivity? How does addictive device use affect your mental health? And how much of a problem is this in India? And crucially, how much screen time is healthy for you? Dr. Manoj Kumar Sharma, professor at the Department of Clinical Psychology at NIMHANS and head of the Service for Healthy Use of Technology Clinic, joins us today to discuss these questions. Welcome to the Hindus in Focus podcast, Dr. Manoj.
Thank you.
Dr. Manoj, technology is all around us today, and children now have never known of a time without devices. Explain to us when screen time use is classified as excessive or addictive.
This is a very relevant question. I think most of the families are interested to know when are we going to label it as like a addiction or when it's going to be normal use. If I would define in terms of simple term, we can use 5C criteria, which we use in our uh, clinic care also. 5C stand for in the first C stand for craving. Like, do you have continuous desire to use technology? Answer can be in yes and no, but if you have an answer yes, that's the first sign toward addiction. Second is loss of control. Whenever you initiate or pick up your device for any online activities, do you have a control? If you feel like whenever you are with the device or with any online activities, you don't know when to stop and it goes for hours together, that represent loss of control. If that is there, that's a second yes toward addiction. Third is coping. Are you using technology or online activities as a modality to feel good? Because sometimes happens all of us experience sadness, sometimes anxiety, sometimes stress, or sometimes it could be a boredom and loneliness also. So are we using technology repeatedly to manage these mood states or psychological states? If that is happening, that will become a habitual pattern for you. And if that is there, that's the third years toward addiction. Fourth C stand for compulsion. Have you become a compulsion represent, like have you become a habitual user, which is quite possible because of accessibility of the devices with you. Mobile phone all of us carry, so anything which you carry with you, as and when situation comes, you will start using it. So that's represent habitual use, and that's a fourth years toward addiction. And the fifth is consequences. Because of technology use, are you experiencing physical issues? It could be physical issues, can be in terms of dryness of eyes fatigue, body pain, sometimes pain in your tennis elbow region, or maybe wrist region, which we say carpal tunnel syndrome. Or second consequence can be in terms of psychological. Because of excessive use of technology, you are feeling guilt, you are feeling low again, that you have lost your productive time and you are not doing anything efficacious or effective in your day-to-day routine, or if which further creates low mood states in you. Third is social life. Are you losing out your contacts or have you become more withdrawn from the social environment because of preference to spend time with technology? Fourth is family. Are you losing out family communication, family quality time because of technology use? Or it could be decline in your academics or occupational functioning. But you know that all these consequences are happening because of technology use, but still you rationalize to continue your use of technology. So these represent 5C. So out of 5C, if you have 4 or all 5 years in your lifestyle, then we would say it's an addiction. But if you have less than 3C in your lifestyle, then we would say it's a still not in the addictive zone and it's more problematic or mild use of technology.
That was very enlightening, Doctor. Thank you. I feel like most of us can identify at least one or two in that category.
Definitely, definitely.
Doctor, some research from many parts of the world has indicated a link between excessive or addictive screen use and a decrease in our thinking, in our attention span, in our executive abilities, basically in our cognitive skills. Talk to us a little bit about this.
Most of the people want to know about this impact. So first thing I want to say, in terms of relative indicator, there is a phenomena called cyber laughing. Cyber laughing represent like you start your uh, online task with a focus task, like you wanted to finish your academic professional task, but while executing this task you also engage yourself in other multiple online tasks. So what happens, you started with your particular focus task, then you move to YouTube, then you move to social media, and then you move to other activities also. So that represent the cyber laughing, that you are not focusing on your focus task and you are doing other tasks also, or multiple tasking also. Multiple tasking is a brain asset, but when you are doing a lot of too many stimulating tasks, then it doesn't complement each other and it brings uh, decline in your cognitive functions or decline in your productivity. So that's the first thing we have to remember, that sometimes there may not be causal relationship, but there may be because you are not concentrating on your focus task, which we say is cyber laughing. Second thing which comes up, we have seen one of our study that when people use have a mild use of technology, they have a better cognitive functions. So again, it means if you have a controlled use of technology, it will improve your brain functions also. People's studies represent like if you have 1 to 2 hours gaming, or if you have 1 to 2 hours any other recreational activity, it has a promotive impact. But if you are with the screen for 10 to 12 hours, then it has a detrimental impact on your cognitive functions. Third thing which comes up, like when you are doing any focus task and if you distract yourself for XYZ task, brain takes almost 3 to 5 minutes to reach back to the same concentration level. So it means whenever you're distracting yourself for any other XYZ online task, you lose your concentration, and the brain almost takes 3 to 5 minutes to reach back to the same concentration levels. And if you're doing it repeatedly, definitely it will have an impact on your focus attention, it will have an impact on your memory, and as well as output also. Fourth thing which we are seeing, because of screen use, what is happening? We are losing out our habit of memorizing things. Because earlier, because if I am saying memorizing, memory has 3 stages. One we call sensory stage, second is short term, and the third is long term memory. Sensory stage represent like all information in your environment is sensory. You get stimulated by it, whichever is relevant, you pay attention, other you just delete from your consciousness. Second, but out of in the sensory environment, wherever you give attention, it become part of your short-term memory. And from short-term memory, whichever information you rehearse, it becomes your long-term memory. But because of devices, what is happening, when anything comes exciting in your environment, rather than giving attention, we start feeding in our mobile phone in one of the other folders. So what happened? We are not giving attention. And second, since we are not giving attention, the rehearsal is out of question. So that way again, it will takes away. It has definitely impact on your memory retention also. So these are some trends of finding which we are seeing between screen use and cognitive functions.
That sounds a little scary in terms of memory and attention span both decreasing, Doctor. Tell us a little bit about is addictive screen behavior like similar to other forms of addictive behavior? Does it follow the same patterns?
I would say more or less, because all these things comes under the domain of addictive behaviors. Addictive behaviors include substance use to behavioral addiction. So the development and the manifestations more or less remain same, but there are maybe finer distinctions comes up. Like if you say alcohol withdrawal is different from the withdrawals when person doesn't have screen with them. So that is the difference comes up. Otherwise, all addictions have preoccupation. All addiction have that this has become like a prioritized activity in their day-to-day schedule. Third, all addiction have loss of control, and all addiction have use despite knowledge of consequences. But when it comes to screen addiction, people have more psychological withdrawals rather than physical withdrawal. Physical withdrawals manifest only in forms of physical distress like eye tiredness or physical fatigue, but most of the withdrawals are in terms of psychology, like where people feels irritable, anger outbursts, sadness, withdrawnness, and other things comes up. So that is the only difference comes. Otherwise, more or less, all the addictive behaviors carries similar sort of manifestation and development. But here I also want to emphasize there is another term which we call digital failures. Like how do you feel when the internet connectivity goes down? I think most of us, the response will be that all of us are not comfortable whenever we are doing any task and suddenly there is an internet connectivity goes down. Then how do you handle this low internet connectivity or variation in internet connectivity? That represent healthy use. If you are handling it in a healthy manner, that doesn't matter. I can take rest or I can do certain other things. But if you feel disturbed and if you start reacting to these things in a more impulsive way, that represents the more impulsive spectrum of this addiction.
That was very interesting, Doctor. Talk to us a little bit specifically about children and teenagers in India. We all know that during the COVID-19 pandemic, we had hybrid learning, online learning, and schools all went online, and children had to begin to use devices to study. What have you seen post-pandemic at your clinic? Have you seen an increase in excessive screen time?
Once this COVID restrictions has come up, I think what we have seen that most of the children's got access to the devices, whether mobile phone or laptop. And because of this accessibility to devices, they start using technology for academic purpose also, but also it also allow them to use technology for leisure time also. So what we have seen due to COVID, one is their screen use has increased. Second is their preference for digital leisure activities. Now they are not going for offline leisure activities. Children say there is no fun of going out, or I don't want to participate in any tournaments or any physical activities. I will prefer to spend time with technology. So during COVID time and for post COVID time, we have seen a very significant increase in treatment seeking also with our clinic. Before COVID time, we used to see 6 to 7 cases per week. But during COVID and post COVID, we started seeing almost 15 to 18 cases per week. So that is a very significant increase has come in terms of treatment consultation. Second thing, because the whole family was at home, so parents become very much vigilant about the use of technology, and they also notice the preference of the child to be with technology, and they also notice the child is losing out his or her biological functions, his or her interest in family based activities, his or her interest in social activities, and they recognize this red signs either through media informations or through literature search, and then they identify where they can seek help. So I think the parent awareness became very significant point in enhanced treatment seeking behavior among adolescent. But adolescent post COVID time also, I think there are proportion of students who felt good after the reopening of school because it allowed them to connect to their friends, it allowed them to engage in other offline activities. But there is a good chunk of people which we are seeing in our clinic, they still prefer to remain to have academics online because they don't enjoy going on a scheduled time to school. They don't enjoy participation in any offline activities in school setting, and they once they come back from school, they likes to spend their maximum time with technology. Or sometimes the parents complain that if their child always inform them that he or she is doing academic work on mobile phone or devices, but whenever they notice he or she is no longer doing any academic work, they are more engaged in other offline recreational activities, and their grades are also coming down, even though they are reporting that they are doing online work X number of hours. So parents have found that post COVID also the issue of, though the school have reopened again, but school the preference for technology remain high among their children, and they still want suggestions. They still want more rehabilitation facilities which can help them their children to regulate their technology use. Because that's, I think, most of the parents are perturbed that even though school has a routine, they also are getting slowly into their routine in the professional work, but still child has not changed. Child still child still has a preference to spend X number of hours. He still want his or her privacy. He still wants to spend time with technology till late in night, and which affect his next day uh, schedule for school as well as other activities also. And another thing which I would want to highlight is another thing which we are seeing, that most of the families are nuclear families, working parents, and more. So what happened, like child always feel that he has a lot of loneliness and boredom at home, and there are not many much opportunity for physical activities and much opportunity to interact with other children of his or her age group. So what happens? He left with a lot of free time, in which allow him or her to spend time with technology. So that's a gray area which we have to address if we want to reduce the technology use among children.
So, children is on one side, doctor. This is what has been happening, as you said, as one of the results of the pandemic period. But how is the scenario when it comes to adults? So, a lot of adults also have to use screens as part of our work, correct? How is this affecting adults and also older citizens? How does it also impair our memory, our attention spans? From, say, when we were children, our attention spans were better, but now they're not as good. Is that what the findings are suggesting?
Still, I think I would say for attention and cognitive functions, still large sample size studies are required of, but there is some trend that it has an impact. But we would not say, but still we would say uh, have the implication with caution only, because these are all small sample size studies. So still we require large sample size control trial to assess the impact of excessive use of screen on cognitive function. That's the first caution. Second thing, what I think now we are working, one of our PhD scholar is also working on developing screen guidelines for working adults, because we felt that there are some guidelines are available for children, but there are no guidelines for working adults. But as a part of this research work, when we did the pilot trial of our survey, we found that almost even adults, it's almost the use range from 8 to 10 hours per day, which include sometimes combination of professional screen-based activities plus recreational activities, or in some of the cases, sometimes they say that's predominantly recreational activities only. So it means it's a concern among young adults, working adults also, as well as we are also finding a trend among geriatric population also, because again their children are busy in their professional activities, or they are not with them because of professional reason. So again these elderly groups have a lot of free time. They have a lot of opportunities to spend time with the screen to feel good, as well as to restructure their day-to-day activities. This free time can goes in terms of YouTube videos for religious activities. Sometimes they can be on social media platform, or they may also be watching many other show series and other things. So it means it's not the problem of children. Adults and geriatric populations also requires awareness, psychoeducation for have healthy use of technology.
Doctor, tell us a little bit more when you were talking about how, your attention flits from one thing to another, especially when you're online, you're doing one task, but then you're opening three, four other things to look at, correct? So, does this have, like you were talking about, how this, your brain takes 3 to 5 minutes to again refocus on a task, right? Because a lot of us also have found over the years, because we are so attached to our devices, that the ability perhaps to sit down and read maybe a serious full book at one go has become more difficult than maybe it used to be in the past. Is that something also
Yes.
that you're saying?
I would say because now the preference for activities has changed. Some people prefer that rather than reading textbooks, it's better to do on Kindle and other online based devices and all. So sometimes it's maybe your preference. But second thing which is makes a difference is execution on time. Like sometimes execution on time doesn't happen because we are getting distracted by XYZ activities, which takes away our focus attention from a particular activities. So that's why I think we always advise, like if you are doing focus task, please finish that focus task. If you can, keep away your mobile phone for a certain period of time if it is not professionally compulsion. So if that happens, I think it will definitely has an impact on enhanced productivity. And that's why I think there is a term which we always use, like you should bring some digital fasting in your lifestyle. Digital fasting can be for professional purpose if you want to finish your professional tasks, and if there is no need to remain active on online platform, allow yourself to have a fasting from online activities and finish your task in one go or in two or three sitting, whatever is comfortable for you. And same thing happen for families also. If they can plan digital fasting in their family schedule, it will allow them to have quality time with each other. It will also allow them to have more communication, which we are seeing not happening so constructively, and it will also allow them to have more non-judgmental attitude, because with communication only you will have a better understanding, and with better understanding you will have non-judgmental attitude about each other rather than passing judgmental comments which triggers anxiety in other person and which may again become a reason for excessive use in the other person also.
You spoke to us a little bit, Doctor, about the need for better and bigger studies, correct? What is the scenario in India right now? Do we urgently need such large scale studies in order to assess the impact on our children and on adults?
Definitely, I think we require like maybe pan India kind of work to understand the factors which are, because though we have some regional studies, but we don't have any large sample size pan India study which can give us better information about factors, motives, and other psychological issues associated with and other risk and protective factors related to the screen use, and which will definitely have an implication for developing psychoeducational or other intervention uh, modalities for adults, children, and geriatric population.
Last question before we sign off, Doctor. We spoke for so long about the link between excessive screen time or addictive screen time and your brain. Is there also a link? Has research shown anything of this between your mental health when you use screen time too much in terms of mental health disorders such as depression and anxiety?
In terms of, I think this is still, I think, required, because whatever the studies are available, they show causal relationship, and this causal relationship can be bidirectional. Because what happens sometime, because of excessive screen use, you are losing out your family activities, you are losing out your professional activities, you are losing out your uh, productivity, and that brings low self-esteem, and which low self-esteem contribute to the rationalization that I can't do anything in real life, let me excel in online world. That's a cognition rationalization we use, and that rationalization mediates excessive use of screen use. Somewhere person keep repeating to himself that I can do a lot of things, acknowledgement, everything which is possible in online world, because these people are non-judgmental. But where other side, if you are feeling sad, anxious, and depressed, sometime nowadays people don't talk. That's why the communication remains a milestone. People don't communicate that they're undergoing any stress to their family members or to their friends or to anybody whom they confide in. What they do, whenever they're distressed, they start sharing on online platform. Sometimes what we have seen, there is a one term which we call status psychopathology. Rather than discussing with others, they change their status so that other people will come to know about their psychological state, and they start inquiring about their well-being and other thing. So I think it can go either way, but we have seen depression, anxiety, stress has a highest correlation with excessive screen use. If, for your reference, there are guidelines are available for young childrens up to from World Health Organization as well as from American Psychiatric Association and Indian Association of Pediatrics. All of them suggest that up to 6 years, the screen use should be very limited. A family should have quality screen time. Means family should sit with the child whenever they are using any screen, and they should have promote more physical activities. Physical activity they are recommending at least it should be 180 minutes a day. And the more or less for adults also 90 to 180 minutes physical activity is recommended. So I think if we bring more physical activities, we will create more happy hormones, which we are now working through online platforms.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much for this interesting discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
In Focus will be back soon with analysis of the biggest news issues. In the meantime, you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and other platforms. Just search for In Focus by The Hindu. We'll see you soon.